Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Take Back My Brain. I'm your host, Laurie Hammer, and today I have with me an amazing gentleman. His name is Rich Nisbet, and he's, like I just said, he's amazing. He's a musician. He's a life coach. He helps people. He wrote a book it's called End of Life. And we're going to dive into all of these things because he was just giving me an amazing description of what he does, and I want all of you to know. So welcome, Rich.
Thank you.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about yourself. You've got the back of you is lined with guitars and all sorts of instruments. And I was saying I connect with that because my son is an avid musician and has all sorts of instruments. And I miss him not living at home because I don't get to hear him all the time anymore.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, when the Beatles hit in the mid 60s, I was in fourth grade.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And my mother said, "Hey, there's this band from England that's going to be on American TV. Have you heard of them?" I said, "No." So all of a sudden, we're watching this black and white TV, and here's the Beatles. "She loves you, yeah, yeah." And I saw the people in the audience screaming and going crazy and happy, and I thought, I want to do that.
Right.
Music makes people happy.
Uh-huh.
And in fourth grade, you're very impressionable.
Yeah.
So I went and got a guitar, met some other guys, and formed some bands, and played music for quite a few years. Recorded. Then I was introduced to life coaching.
Okay.
And that idea really sat with me because now you can make people permanently happy.
Right. Not just in the moment with music.
Yeah.
Which is still a key piece of it because the music can, change the brain like nothing else can.
You're right. 100%. So I started on a journey there studying different philosophies and Eastern religions and New Age stuff.
Yeah.
And came across a lot of really cool processes that help people without me having to give advice.
That's awesome because, sometimes advice is just not good.
Well, people are inundated. I was thinking about this today. People they've got stats, data, information, memes, videos, the news, inflow.
Yeah.
And what are you going to give some advice and just be another piece of, why not ask?
It's a lot of noise.
Yeah. And the noise can get silenced by asking questions.
There you go. Asking the right questions. What's that? There's a quote. Oh, now I can't even think of it, but something about the right question can bring gold to your life or something like that. I can't remember.
I know. I have a podcast series called It's the Question. And every podcast, there's a question that I ask and the audience sends in answers to some philosophy, like, have you ever been out of your body? Have you ever experienced intuition? Have you ever failed to trust your gut? And what happened? Anyway, it's a whole exploration of cool questions.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So tell me about that process because I've been in a lot of different masterminds, over the years for business, whatever it might be. And the best ones have always been the reflective questions to kind of figure out, where do your limiting beliefs lie and how do you get to the root cause of issues? So can you explore that a little bit, like why that's so important?
Yes. There's a certain style of question called I call it a multiple answer question. One question that could give many, many answers.
Okay.
Like, remember a time when you were young. What'd you just think of when I asked you that?
The time I sat on a duck.
Sweet.
I don't know why. The time I sat on a duck.
I love it. As a side note, there's also a little mechanism in the mind called the dispenser.
Okay.
And this is what's really cool, and it makes it easy for anyone to study how to do what I do. The dispenser will give you the answer.
Okay.
You don't have to think about it. I'll often ask, recall the time when you were young. They're going, well, what do you mean? I said, what I mean is, what did you just think of? And you sat on a duck.
Right.
It's given to you. So the dispenser does two things. It provides you an answer immediately, and it also will not provide you something you can't confront comfortably.
Oh, okay.
So you're not going to dive into the time the car ran over me.
Right.
Or the car I got burned by. You will do enough answers to lead up to that, maybe.
Yeah.
but the dispenser is a very valuable thing to realize.
Okay.
All
So
right.
what do you do with the duck?
Well, the multiple answer question is designed for you to answer many, many times.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, a shift will happen. It's called a cognition or an epiphany or a new awareness.
Okay.
Oh yeah, the time I fell off the swing, the time I was with my brother, the time I did that, my mom, and all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, wait. All these times I've remembered I'm like the same person now that I was then. Oh my God. And it changes your life.
Oh, interesting. So what do you mean, like all of a sudden, like you discovered you're the same person?
Well, that's just an example. I'm
Okay,
telling you, if you know, like a detective,
there you go. Okay.
he'll put up evidence like, okay, this guy was over here at this time and this person,
Uh-huh.
and he'll stare at it every day and he'll add new stuff, add new. And all of a sudden it goes, oh my God, wait a minute. He could not have been there at that time. So, oh, I know who did it. A new life.
Right, like you're playing Clue, right?
Yep. So
Yep.
by me asking the same question, you are basically putting up memories.
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden, a shift will occur on that subject where you're like, oh, wait a minute. I've been looking at this wrong. Here's what the truth is.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It's amazing.
So give me an example of what somebody has discovered.
I'll give you an example of recall a time when you were young.
Okay.
Somebody went probably 20 minutes on that question, having memories, laughing, crying sometimes.
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden they said something like, oh my God, something just hit me. Every memory is different. Every memory has different setting, a different environment, my school, my house I grew up in, and all of that stuff is changed through time.
Mm-hmm.
My school doesn't look the same anymore. My house I grew up in, I went by a couple months ago, and it's really ridiculously different. Everything, my body's changed. But you know what? I'm a constant through time.
Okay.
I have not changed and I haven't gotten worse, and I don't think I'll ever get worse because I'm not my body or the stuff that I'm thinking. Oh my God, I feel so much more relief. This is kind of what happens on these questions.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
And it's very personal to you. If you said that, it would mean so much to you, but to someone else, they go, whatever. But
Right. Right.
anyway, it changes everything.
Right. So does that help people overcome what? What does it help them overcome?
Imagine if they were depressed and
Mm.
they're like, I have no future. And all of a sudden they go, wait a minute, I've been around for a long time and I'm the same as I was then, really.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I don't have to be, I've got a future. Oh, I see how this, and
Sure.
that's when you end off. You go, see you later. Come
Right.
back. Come back when you need another one.
That's fantastic.
Yep.
So it really helps people to like move, way I'm seeing it, and correct me if I'm wrong, it just helps people move past wherever they're stuck without doing hours and hours of counseling.
Oh, it's so fast. Yes.
Because our
Yep.
brain can really process things quite quickly. And I love the fact that you're asking these types of questions. What makes those questions different than, say, the ones that they might get in counseling?
Because like I just explained, I don't do anything. The more I talk, the worse.
Got it.
So a counselor will say, how's it been going? Well, I've been stressed out at work lately. Well, what's going on? Well, there's a boss there that I really don't like. Okay, what's happening with him? And do you see that'll go from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, and pretty soon the hour is up and they go, well, come back next week. They didn't really
Didn't get
accomplish
anywhere, right?
and it actually stirred up more than they should have.
Yeah.
Because now he's all embroiled in about 500 different things where I just go, tell me a time when you're young. Tell me a time when you're young. Give me another one. Give me another one. And all of a sudden they go, whoa. So
That's just wild to me, Rich.
you know what? It's so wild. And that's why I think, like, I think only like 16% of people that get psychology degrees turn into therapists. because I think they're, number one, they're afraid. What am I going to say to these people? I can't, what advice am I going to give them? I don't, what do I do? This makes it so easy to just be a safe person, to give a question and listen, and just listen and listen. And pretty soon they resolve it themselves.
Which is kind of the goal, isn't it?
Big time. Yeah.
Because our mind keeps everything, right?
Yeah.
And so we just need to kind of ask the right questions to pull all this stuff out so that we can move past wherever we think we're stuck.
You're right.
And so then we can just move forward and do what God created us to do in the first place.
100%.
Yeah, I like that. It sounds so simple.
And anything powerful is simple.
Yeah.
And anything that's got truth in it is very simple.
Yeah.
There's a lady named Byron Katie. Have you ever heard that name?
I have not.
Holy shit. My next podcast is called Truth.
Okay.
If a person is upset and they claim to tell you the reason they're upset and they remain upset, they have not found the truth.
Ooh, that's good.
Because truth and upset cannot occupy the same space.
That is so true. And we never think about that.
No, and we don't want to, because I think we set up mechanisms to push emotion there to avoid looking at what really our part in it.
Right.
I'm so pissed at my blank.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, when did that start, and what did you do? What was your part in creating the thing that you claim you're upset about?
Right.
And then they find it, they're like, oh my God, I forgot about that. Oh yeah, now they're all happy and the upset's gone because they found the truth. And this Byron Katie has a whole kind of process on the fact that a person or a situation cannot make you upset. It's only your thoughts about it. And you glomming onto that thought
Yep.
that creates upset.
Right.
And I always think, and I've talked about this with a lot of my clients. Let's say you're playing a game of football. You go, oh, let's go. And you're playing the game and somebody knocks you down.
Uh-huh.
Do you get mad at them? Do you get upset? Do you have anger? No. Okay, same guy is walking on the street at night and a bum comes out and knocks him down onto the cement of the. Does he get upset about that?
Yes.
Wow, he does.
Yeah.
He's going to sue the city. He's going to tell all of his friends, I was mugged. He's going to go get x-rays and it's not going to resolve and it's going to go on for. But you know what? It was the same hit. Both of them were the same hit.
Okay, so it's the perception of it.
It's his idea of what should have or not happened or should have happened versus what should have happened or not over here.
Right.
I think that's fascinating.
It is fascinating. You know, I'm thinking of a particular person in my life who, you know, you look at some people in your life, you're like, kind of like a lot of negative things just happen to them, right? And you're like, why? And then you know them and they're like, well, that shouldn't have happened. That shouldn't have happened. Like, this always happens to me. That shouldn't have happened. Yep. And it's really all in how they're looking at life. And if it happened, the same thing would have happened to somebody else, maybe that person wouldn't even react to that. They'd be like, oh, that wasn't even a big deal. It just kind of just passed by.
You're right.
We do create our own realities in a lot of ways.
You know what she says? That chick says, my husband should pay more attention to me.
Uh-huh.
Who are you without that thought?
Ooh, that's kind of deep. Like, you really have to think about that.
Yeah. Because you are a spirit.
Yeah.
You don't really have any ability to be harmed because you can't be burned, you can't be punched, you can't be shot.
Yeah, so you can't destroy your spirit, right?
No, so anything you're complaining about, you got something to do with. Mm-hmm. You got something to do with the thoughts you have about it. So what would you be without that thought means, oh, I'd be free.
Right? Yeah. It's hard to take ownership, don't you think? Like, because that's where pride gets in the way there. You're like, I don't really think it's me.
It's 100%. And like you said, there's people that get addicted to misery.
Right?
Yeah. Because it feels, it gives them, gives them something to have, like, and if you try to take it away from them,
Yeah.
they like, don't be upset. You should be, you don't understand, you know.
People will really cling hard to their dysfunction in their body, in their life.
100%.
Because it's comfortable, right? It's
Yeah.
comfortable to have dysfunction. Unfortunately, I mean, I went through a period of that. Every now and then I have to catch myself. I'm like, okay, I'm the issue here. It's comfortable being in the dysfunction because I can just go, it's somebody else's fault. It's somebody else's fault, when it's clearly I need to take ownership and just move on. But when I was heavily into my eating disorder and anxiety and depression, like, it was counseling after counseling. It was like everything around me was the problem, when it was like, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know why I didn't know who I was. I didn't know all these things. And then until somebody started asking me the right questions, and,
Really?
I let God ask me questions too. And he would totally ask me questions. And I'm like, oh,
I
I
know.
need to work on that, right? Because he will speak to you. And I think he's probably the best question asker, or he is the best question asker in the universe since he created it.
Well, I think it's interesting that people with problems are probably getting those questions, but they don't answer them, or they don't want to hear them.
Right, right.
But when you're ready to do it, it's your higher self, it's God, it's that whole thing.
It is that whole thing.
Have
Yeah.
you ever studied a near-death experience, people?
I haven't. I would love to hear about that because I know you have.
Well, only because I'm so interested in the metaphysical side of existence.
Sure.
Metaphysical means beyond physical.
Yes.
And physical has energy, space, time. So it's beyond energy, space, time.
Yeah.
These bodies.
Yes.
These guys die and they're in this other realm. And in this other realm, it's probably what heaven is about. It's probably why the Bible talks about this heaven.
Yeah.
Because it's this area of love, no judgment. They meet up with other loved ones, that the deceased, and it's this whole euphoric environment. And they all talk about how goofy we are on this planet.
That's true.
The little problems that we have that we think are so important.
Yeah.
But when you think of your metaphysical self in connection with the overall God dynamic,
yeah,
it all changes.
It does change.
Yeah.
Because these bodies are so temporary. It's not our eternal home.
I did a math the other day. So the average lifespan of a body is 79 years.
Sure.
Right now.
Yeah.
81 for women, 76 for guys.
Okay.
I've only got a few years left. So
going.
So 79 years is the average. If you multiply 79 years by 12 months, you come up with 948 months.
Oh, that doesn't sound like very many.
Do you think our existence is only 948 months?
No.
It just puts a perspective, doesn't it?
It does. It does. When you put it that way, that doesn't seem like a very long life at all. Because I mean, really, in big scheme of things, in all eternity, it's not.
No.
Yeah. God created us eternal beings.
It's like that Far Side where the two fruit flies are talking. And the one goes, okay, I'll see you next week. We got to get, oh, wait, I'll be dead by then.
That's true. Yeah. So, we don't want to waste the life that we have here focused on all this negativity, and we have so much just coming at us from political, that's the season, to
oh yeah,
whatever medical viral thing might be, around the world at the moment, or, all those kind of things. And I feel like, that's the negative side of everything, but
yeah,
we can still, because the light, pushes out darkness. And so when you have a different perspective, like you're trying to help people to ask those right questions, so it helps them to move past that darkness, then their light just really shines like they were created to.
And it's interesting because a normal program would probably be 10 to 20 of these high-powered questions.
Sure.
And every one of them ends with you happy at a good point and released from some bull stuff in your life.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because you can be living your life kind of in the lower emotions, like apathy or hopelessness or sadness or anger. You can if you can reside there. Everybody's residing somewhere on the emotional tone scale. Well, as you do these questions and you come up with your own epiphanies and cognitions and changes, you start moving up. Even going for a walk will help you move up.
Sure.
So anything you can do in your life to keep yourself on the higher frequencies of emotion, that's when your intentions start coming through and working without effort.
Right. Yeah, that's so good. So good. So how does a walk help you do that?
You take your attention off yourself and put it on the environment around you.
Nice.
Yeah, you can walk for 20 minutes and feel refreshed. And I swear to God, that's usually probably more therapeutic than sitting around talking about what your mother did to you.
I agree. I totally agree 100%.
And at least it takes you out of that. And so you can come back into a session and now you can confront mom a lot easier than you could if you just were.
Sure. And I think when you do those things, you ask the right questions, not negating anything that happened because trauma happens, right?
Yes.
And so not belittling any of that if anybody is listening. However, the right questions and the right mindset and the right habits, you out of that identity.
And loss is a really kind of a tough one. When you lose something very love, and you start talking about being able to move on, well, people that are in a heavy grief are not want to move on. They feel they're not really acknowledging the trauma that they just went through.
Right.
So, and same with if you had trauma in your past, these questions aren't negating that it happened. But they happened then, and you're sitting here now holding it on and living your life through it, which is it's ridiculous because it's not happening now. Right. So you can process out all the gripping emotion out of it. You can still remember it, but it's not running your life anymore. Right. Yeah, that's so good, Rich. So good. Yeah. What else? I want to talk about the end of life stuff because we started to talk about that and we got a little off track. So tell me about that. Can you see the book? What's I can. When it's time. When it's time. Grandma's in hospice, and what are we going to do about grandma? Yeah. Okay, in 2000, what's that? 24 years ago, one of my clients said, "Hey, my grandma's not doing well. She's not going to recover any, and her tongue is out of her mouth. She's purple skin. She's anxiety. She's in 3 weeks of this, and I don't know what to do. Can I help her?" And I said, "Let me think about it." Yeah. So I went home and I wrote down 6 simple steps. Like I talked about, if someone was drunk, you would have them look around. Okay. And I feel, well, grandma's probably out of it. She needs to be grounded a little bit more. So have her look at things, have her touch things. And that was the first couple steps. Okay. And then it was some other ones. And he went into the hospital. The nurse was there. His mother and his aunt were in the room. And the first step was get everyone out of the room so you could be alone with grandma. Right. Because you're going to get the negativity out. Yeah. And everybody's all worried. So she's on the, and he goes, "Okay, grandma," he touch your tummy, and he takes her hand and touches it. Okay, touch the bedpost. Okay, touch the sheet. All right, touch the pillow. And he said after about 15 minutes of that, she just stopped. Crashing. Her anxiety went away. And her skin started coming. They did the next step, and then her skin went back to normal. Then the next step, and her tongue went back in her mouth. She could talk. She hadn't talked in 3 weeks. Wow. The nurse and the mom and the aunt walked in and go, "Oh my God, what have you done to grandma?" And they had a couple hours of nice talk back and forth about their lives, and she passed peacefully that afternoon. Wow. So he was ecstatic. I bet he was, because then it wasn't so hard for her to go, right? She wasn't. She could now let go. Yeah. That's what people don't realize. So anyway, I thought, well, that's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
he went and started yakking to everyone in Chicago. I was in Chicago then. And
Uh-huh.
I started getting calls, my mom, my dad, my grandma, all these
Uh-huh.
people needed help. And so I'm writing these things, and it became evident nobody knows what to do except the hospice people.
Right.
So instead of us just praying or saying, I'm so sorry for your loss, maybe we could have some steps they could do and
Yeah.
take ownership of it and not have such a grief at the end of it because they helped.
Right. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's so good. I wish I would have had that when my mom died a year and a half
Uh,
ago. That
when
would have been amazing.
when was that?
It was, it'll be 2 years this coming January.
Okay. Were you with her at the end?
Not at the very end. I had gone home to go to bed. My dad was with her. Yeah.
Okay, listen, there's a chapter here that says leave the room. Periodically leave the room. Do you like people watching you go to the bathroom?
No.
No, and maybe some people don't want people staring at them, crying, and they want to leave. They want to get out of this body. This body's
Yeah.
decaying.
That's what
I'm
my
gonna.
grandma did. She waited until I went home because I stayed with her all day, and when I left a few hours later, she just was gone
It's
and
there's
peaceful.
millions of stories about that.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
don't want you. They feel you don't want to upset people, do you?
No.
And you know that if you take off and oh no, she's dead. They don't want that. They don't want to create that. So
Yeah.
a lot of people be in the parking lot to go take a shower or go get something to eat,
Yeah.
and also you got to come back in the room now. She just passed.
Aw. Yeah, that's so true, right?
Yeah. So there's all those common sense things are in that book, and
That makes sense. I
yeah,
never even thought of it that way, actually, Rich.
I'm on a podcast next week with a person in hospice,
Oh, good.
and she loved the book because she goes, "Oh my God, the people around grandma are spaz. They're
Right?
all emotional. They don't know what to do. They're begging her, don't die. You can't die." Oh,
Yeah.
great. Now you're going to pin that obligation on grandma.
Right. And grandma's like, I'm ready to go.
I know, but now she's got to hang on to this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. I love that. So I can't wait to listen to this podcast then, because it'd be great to incorporate that into, hospice care. And
Yeah.
because, when you think about the negativity and stuff around you, Rich, I know when I had a cancer diagnosis and I was miraculously healed.
Wow.
And the hardest thing about dealing with the healing, which I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm healed, let's move on. Praise God.
Yeah.
I was so excited, but other people's fears, and so when you're talking about the end of life, it's really similar. It's like, I didn't know what to do with other people's fears. And so like, I went into myself and
Oh,
I like, I separated because I'm like, I can't deal with any of you.
I totally get it. Yep.
Yeah.
In fact, it says steps to help someone at the end of life die with peace and dignity while providing guidance and reassurance to everyone else.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
I got to tell you something, a story that's really cool that happened recently.
Yeah.
One of the chapters in the book is called The Letter.
Okay.
When someone's dying, let's say you were kind of coaching your relative through this, you would be, if you took yourself and if you were in charge of it, people would be emailing and calling you, oh, I'm so sorry, is there something I can do, is there anything I can do, I don't know what. Well, people from all over the country are going to have attention on the dying person and what they could do to help. What do you think is the biggest regret most people have after someone passes?
Not spending enough time with them, or
What they wish they could say.
what they wish they could say. Yeah.
Yeah, you were right on it. What they
Yeah.
wish they could say, but now they'll never be able to.
Right.
So when someone's on their deathbed, you contact all their friends and family. You say, you send me an email, a one-page letter to the person of all the cool times you had together, how they helped you, all the fun things you guys keep your emotions out of it. And I will compile it into a book and I'll read it to her.
Aw.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Aw.
you kill two birds. Well, I shouldn't use that.
I know what you mean.
Number one, everyone gets closure because they got to say what they wanted to say. And then grandma sees that her life had meaning.
Right. Oh.
Now,
Good.
a woman from the East Coast read the book. and she got to that chapter, the letter, which describes what to do.
Yeah.
And her best friend from high school lived in Arizona, and she knew that her best friend's husband was on hospice.
Okay.
His name's Lee.
Mm-hmm.
So she went to Lee's Facebook, and she didn't tell her friend. And she said, "You need to send me a one-page letter about all the cool stuff that you and Lee did together, and how he helped you, and how he inspired you." And blah, blah, blah. And they did, and she got about 200 letters. And she didn't go to Kinko's. She went to Shutterfly and took pictures and fonts and made a beautiful $100 coffee table book called Letters to Lee.
Oh.
Now her friend in Arizona gets this package in the mail, and she's in the kitchen. Oh my God, Lee! She goes into the bedroom and starts reading it to him. For 2 weeks, she read the letters, and then he passed.
Wow.
But that's not the end of the story. Apparently, Lee had his own company. It was a multimedia video marketing company. So at the memorial, everyone walks in the room, sits down in the church. The lights go off. A huge screen comes down. There's a video of Lee. "Hey, I read all your letters to me. Now here's my letter back to you all."
Oh, wow.
And he did his own memorial.
That's amazing. Oh, I have goosebumps from head to toe now.
Okay, good.
That's fantastic. And how to make the end of life so much more, so precious, right? So, yeah. Because sometimes it just feels like that was a waste, the end of life. Like, what, right? You know what I mean? Like,
I do.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be.
They go through like a long battle. Like my mom didn't know who we were for like 2 years,
Oh.
And everybody kept telling me, "Oh, what a precious time you have with your mom. This is so great that you get to take care of her. It's so precious." I didn't see anything precious about it, And nobody came to visit. People said they would. Nobody came, it wasn't precious. And yeah.
I have a cousin. Her husband was at the end of life, and her mother, and they both lived in her house with her, and she was caring for both of them.
Oh, wow.
Holy shit. And then they died both in the same week.
Wow.
So not only did she lose them both, but she lost her purpose of caring for them. So that was pretty devastating.
Yeah. And to have something like the letters, just to go back even as the person mourning I think would be beautiful. That would be precious and beautiful.
It is. And you can send the book to people that couldn't make it to the funeral.
Oh, yeah.
And you can sell them at the funeral or just give them away, and everybody see the letters. Anyway, it's really, because here's the thing, everybody thinks about the dying person, but it's really the people living that need the help.
Right.
There's a joke on this. I even put in the book. The guy comes home and the woman says, what'd the doctor say? He goes, "It's not good. I only have a few hours to live." She goes, "Oh no, really?" "Yeah." "What are we gonna do?" "Well, I felt we could have a nice dinner together with some wine, and then we could like have a fire and sit by the fire and talk about our lives together. And then I just want to make love with you all through the night." And the wife goes, "Well, yeah, but I got to get up in the morning."
Yeah.
So the people that are living need the help,
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Aww.
so I've done a lot of grief counseling, a lot of helping people through loss, and I developed a whole, I call them achievements, a whole process they can do at home on themselves by journaling with the correct questions.
Okay.
List out everything you feel guilty about.
Wow.
Because they're thinking that. I should have done this. I should have. List them out, because if you get them on paper, it's out of the mind. The mind feeds you so much bullshit.
Right? Yeah. Lie straight from hell. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So if you get it out of your system, anyway, there's about 10 or 12 questions that they do at home, and that can help relieve all of the bad emotion around it.
That's in your book, or that's what you do in your counseling session?
In my counseling, yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
So,
lot easier than saying, don't feel guilty.
yeah,
That
because
advice doesn't do anything.
that's nothing.
They
Yeah.
gotta process it. Like you said, instead of getting mad, you stop and go 10 seconds, like, okay, all right, what's really going on? What have
Yeah.
I done here that I'm not confronting, and how
Yeah.
I need to take responsibility for what my upset somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, this is a great conversation. What do you want to leave the listeners with?
Um, I would like them to get a hold of me so we can talk, and I can do like a GPS life map with them if where they are now, where they want to get to, and see
Yeah.
if we could work together. I could help them. We can do face-to-face Zoom meetings, or I can send them a bunch of PDFs they can do on themselves for very inexpensive.
Awesome. Well, that information will be in the show notes, everyone. And the link to your books and all those things will also be in the show notes.
Oh, good.
They'll be able to grab a hold of you, get a hold of you, all those kind of things. This has been a fantastic conversation, Rich. Thank you so much.
Hey, yeah, it was great to talk with you too. I love what you're doing, and keep it
Thank
up.
you. Thank you. I will. I will. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I appreciate each and every one of you. God bless, and I will see you in the next episode.